Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. I hope that you are all fine. As you know that we have completed the chapter 5th of political this history, and now we will turn to political science, and in political science we are now today going to start our 5th chapter, and this 5th chapter is about the popular struggles and movements. And in this chapter what we are going to discuss is actually you have discussed in your previous lectures in your previous chapters about power sharing, how important power sharing is. आपने पढ़ा है कि how important power sharing is, power sharing कितनी important होती है democracy में, and democracy is all about power sharing and power sharing in democracy, and how the power is being shared by how this power is being shared by different tiers or different levels of government, and also with various social groups. You have discussed in your earlier chapters how much power sharing is important, especially when we talk of democracy, because democracy is all about power sharing. It is about giving because in democracy power rests with the people, and so people are the sole, or they are the supreme, in the sense that it is on them that it is these people who forms the government, who makes the government, and who can also break the government. That's why Abraham Lincoln जो है, he has famously quoted that democracy is of the people, for the people, and by the people. And I have interpreted that definition of Abraham Lincoln, I have criticized that in other way, but you should, and that definition of Abraham Lincoln, of especially of democracy, is being criticized by various people, and they believe it, and I also believe that today now democracy is not, it is, we say that democracy is about, we say that democracy is about people, and it is that form of government which is of the people, for the people, and also by the people. So this is democracy. So democracy in this way is very important, but how far people centric this democracy is in contemporary world, that you know better. And today this form of government is of the people, but this is now audible of the people. Now ये लोगों से बहुत दूर, सॉरी, अब ये लोगों के लिए इसके दरवाजे बंद हैं. Second, it is for the people. Now it is this far. ये बहुत दूर है लोगों से. It is far from the people. And also, this is by the people. Now it is being criticized that it is by the people. ये किसी कुछ ही लोगों की खरीदी हुई होती है. कुछ लोग इसको खरीदते हैं जिनके पास जो है पैसा बहुत ज़्यादा होता है. Power and muscle power and money power, they mattered in democracy nowadays. So this is how democracy is, and here our concern is that democracy is all about power sharing, and this power sharing makes democracy more democratic and more representative. and power is being shared, as I told you, it is being shared among various social groups, and also between different branches or organs of the government. And now in this chapter that is titled as Popular Struggles and Moments, what we are going, or what we discuss in this, or what we are going to discuss in this, actually we will discuss this power sharing, actually constraints on those who exercise power. How constraints are being put on those people who are at the helm of the affairs. How they are being constrained by the pressures and influences. How people and others exercise pressures on them, how they influence these people who were at the helm of affairs, or who were the power makers. जो पावर जो हेलम ऑफ अफेयर्स पे होते हैं, जो गवर्नमेंट मेकर्स होते हैं, वो कैसे पावर एंजॉय करते हैं, कैसे ये पावर जो है, इस पावर के लिए कैसे किन कंस्ट्रेंट्स में उनको पहले गुजरना पड़ता है, एंड हाउ these constraints are being put on them. These constraints can be pressures or influences. उन पे बहुत सारे influences आ जाते हैं, बहुत सारे pressures आ जाते हैं, जिसकी वजह से जो है उनको पावर एक्सरसाइज करना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है, क्योंकि अदरवाइज दे विल why they are, this is called democracy, because in democracy there are some constraints. You have perhaps gone through this about the constitution, and constitution is one constraint that is on the absolute, otherwise the government will misuse the power. It is this constitution which exercises influence on them, which constraints, which limits their power. So is the case of, we will discuss all these things, how these pressures are being put, how these influences are being how they are being influenced by various people, by various organizations. We will discuss that. And also this democracy, it is not only about giving people a representation, or it is not only about exercising power. ये खाली power exercise नहीं है democracy, इतना ही नहीं है कि people will choose some their representatives and they will exercise power, but no, not this. Democracy always involves conflicts. It involves conflicts of interests, and also conflicts of interests and viewpoints, opinions. Democracy खाली power sharing के लिए नहीं है. It's not only that in democracy power is being shared, rather than ये जो democracy है, इस democracy में आप देखोगे, it always had certain conflicts, and those conflicts were in terms of interests and viewpoints. इस democracy में conflicts interests की बुनियाद पे और viewpoints की बुनियाद पे होते हैं, and sometimes these interests and these viewpoints, conflicts, they were sometimes organized. ये कभी कभार organized होते हैं. They are systematic at times. These differences, these conflicts, and those people who are in power, or who are at the helm of affairs, they are required to balance the power. To balance these conflicting interests. And demands. So democracy, इसीलिए मैंने कहा कि democracy जो है, so we will discuss all these things in this chapter, कि how people who are in power, how they are forced, how they are, made to balance these conflicting interests and demands, these pressures. ये जो उन पे pressure exert किए जाते हैं, they have to manage these pressures, and it is important for them to balance these conflicting interests, demands. ये जो demands conflicting होते हैं, जो कभी कभार मैंने बोला ऑर्गेनाइजर वे में भी रिप्रेजेंट किए जा सकते हैं, एक्सप्रेस किए जा सकते हैं, इनको बैलेंस करना हमेशा उन लोगों का काम होता है जो पार में होते हैं. So in this way it is very important, and we will discuss all these things, and we will inshallah begin our discussion with how popular strugglers, or how strugglers around these conflicting demands and pressures shape the democracy. We will discuss all this, कि कैसे ये जो struggles हैं, how struggle, these popular, whom we call as popular struggles, moments, जो popular struggles moments है, जो ये जद्दोजहद खड़ा की जाती है, लॉन्च की जाती है मोमेंट, जिस मोमेंट का मकसद हमेशा यही होता है इन कन्फ्लिक्टिंग डिमांड्स को, प्रेशर्स को जो है फुलफिल करना, गवर्नमेंट को प्रेशराइज करना उनकी कन्फ्लिक्टिंग डिमांड्स को पूरा करने के लिए. How these conflicting demands, how these conflicting these interests, how these pressures are being managed by the people, by the power sharers, those who are in power, how they manage, balance these demands, and how strugglers, how those struggles, moments which were launched around these demands, वो struggles, वो लड़ाइयाँ, वो जो आपने पढ़ा हो, ये जो moments है, कैसे इन moments को जो कैसे ये moments के conflicting demands और pressures फाइनली डेमोक्रेसी को इन्फ्लुएंस कर देते हैं, कैसे ये उसको असरअंदाज कर देते हैं, कैसे शेप करते हैं डेमोक्रेसी को. We will discuss all these things in this chapter, and we will also discuss, we will in a way make an analysis. हम analysis करेंगे. We will make an analysis of different ways and organizations, different ways and organizations through which ordinary people, ordinary citizens, through which ordinary citizens can play a vital role. We will discuss all these things. Okay? How we will make an analysis. हम इस चीज़ का जायजा लेंगे कि how different ways and organizations, how these different organizations and ways finally organize the people. क्यों, कौन से organizations ऐसे हैं, हम उन तरीकों के, जो तरीके हैं, हम उन तरीकों के मुशाहिदा करेंगे कि कौन से तरीके हैं और कौन सी organizations जो है जिनके थ्रू जो है ordinary citizens important role अदा करती हैं. How besides this government, people have important role in the democracy. How besides forming the government, how besides participating in the elections, how people play very important role, what are the various organizations, what are the various ways through which people always, which enable the people to play a vital role, जैसे जो लोगों को enable कर देते हैं वो organizations, वो ways, different methods जिनके through जो है ordinary citizens, common people who don't have any say, or who don't have, how can they raise their voice, how can they play important role in democracy. वही हम देखेंगे कौन से ऐसे तरीके और कौन सी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है जो लोगों को मदद करती है हमेशा इस डेमोक्रेसी में एक बहुत अच्छा रोल निभाने की, बहुत अच्छा रोल अदा करने की. एंड we will first of all look at these struggles and these popular struggles. We will look also at in this chapter at indirect ways. हम कुछ indirect ways को भी देखेंगे. How directly people influence the government, that is always visible, वो आप खुद देख सकते हैं. But how indirectly, what are the various ways indirect ways through which people they influence politics. How in different ways influence on politics is being made by the people through pressure groups and also movements. So in this chapter we will discuss all these things one by one कि कैसे power sharing आपने पढ़ा है, how power sharing is being done, how the process takes place in democracy, but what are the various constraints through which these power sharers, these people who are in power have to act. We will discuss these things and we will discuss the indirect ways through which the people they indirectly influence the politics. जो politics होती है उसको कैसे indirectly लोग influence कर देते हैं, किन indirectly ways से, किन indirectly methods से, और कैसे वो प्रेशर ग्रुप्स के थ्रू और मोमेंट्स के थ्रू बहुत अच्छा रोल अदा कर सकते हैं और कैसे वो पॉलिटिक्स को भी इन्फ्लुएंस कर देते हैं. So we will discuss all these things in this chapter. So we will begin our chapter with the popular struggles in Nepal and Bolivia. How popular struggles, why popular struggles, they started in Nepal, the reasons behind them, the moments that started there in Nepal for democracy. We will discuss the Bolivian popular struggles also, the water crisis, water war which started in Bolivia. We will discuss that, and we will discuss the role played by various organizations, the mobilization of these people by various organizations, by various pressure groups, moments. We will discuss all these things and we will discuss in detail what are these pressure groups, how these pressure groups are being formed, what is their role. We will discuss the moments, some moments are launched, why moments are launched, and we will discuss all these things and the interests that always influence these pressure groups, these moments. We will discuss all these things in this chapter. So this was a little bit introduction about what we are going and what we have to study in this chapter, which is about popular struggles and moments. Hope you have understood this lecture well, and this was a detailed discussion about this new chapter. And inshallah we will begin today with the first important. This was brief introduction about the chapter. We will inshallah take up from tomorrow the first important topic of this chapter, which is about the Nepal, popular struggles in Nepal, the movement for democracy in Nepal, and after that we will discuss the Bolivian popular struggles, and this is all about it. And Thank you.